welcome everybody to our conversation with the artists. My name is Yvonne Garcia. I am the owner and director of Houston's oldest art gallery, founded in 1969 by my friend and mentor, Jerry Hooks. Took it over in 2021 and still thriving, so it's great. But I want to introduce Gabriel Martinez and then our artists that we're featuring, Lorena. I first want to thank Gabriel. Thank you so much for participating. I know you have a busy life. But for those of y'all that may not know who Gabriel Martinez is, because I highly doubt that, but I will do the introduction. So Gabriel was appointed as Glastire's new editor-in-chief this past January. He holds an MFA from Columbia University. Served as artist editor of the Columbia Journal, was a artist in residence at the Court, the Glasstire. He's been a vital part of the regional arts scene. He's had work in diverse works, Houston Museum of African American Culture, Black Art Museum, resident artist at Project Row Houses. In 2012, he founded Alabama Song, community space that fosters cultural exchange across disciplines. He's taught classes at U of H and at Rice, received a number of awards and recognitions for his work and Alabama Song. He's also a seasoned writer. Is there nothing that this man cannot do? So thank you so much for participating with us today. And then we have Lorena. She's a student of the Glasstire School block program. She has participated in the Carlos Cruz Diaz Foundation seminar through the Glasstire School Museum of Fine Arts. She just recently closed a solo exhibition at the Beeville Art Museum, which received much praise and which closed the same day as this show opened. She's also in public collections such as the Houston Airport System and the George R. Brown Convention Center. And we have represented her since 2015. We had her first solo show in 2016, and this is her fourth solo show with us. And I just have to say, it has been a joy seeing her evolve as an artist with her work. Her last show that we had here, I could tell she was definitely on the cusp of something, and this is it. I love this show. It is fun, it's colorful, I love seeing when people come in and they point out something different every time about home, their identity. Someone the other day said, oh, you know, the topography lines remind me of a fingerprint. And we're like, oh, another part of identity. So this has been a joy just having to show up and walking in every day and then leaving and just kind of just looking at the work as I leave. So I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna let y'all talk and enjoy. And here we go.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. I recognize some faces. I don't know everybody, but I'm glad to be here. I was lucky enough, I guess it's been 2 or maybe 3 months. I was going down to Corpus for Glasstire and Rockport, and I stopped in Beeville at their museum and didn't know that Lorena's show was there. So it was such a nice surprise to see all of this work. That I've known your work for probably close to a decade now. I think the block program is where I first saw it, but I had never seen the pieces there. These are all new works, by the way. So it was really nice to see that, and then a couple weeks later get an email about speaking. It's really a perfect sort of synchronicity. I hardly ever do this, but I figured since the theme is home and it's such a huge term that I would talk a few sentences about my own experience with home. I'm from New Mexico, where the atomic bomb was born. So, you know, it's a charged place and idea for me. I moved a lot as a child. I went to a different school every year until I got to high school. And Houston, I think I've been here 14 years. This fall will be 14 years. It's the longest place I've ever lived anywhere in my life. And I've lived in the same home almost the entire time that I've been here, which is very rare because, like I said, I moved a lot. And even within the states that I lived in, we would move into different homes. I lived in Montana on a river, the Yellowstone River, which you probably know from the TV show or the national park. And my identity, really comes from, it was pretty formative years, but I think about the water a lot. Like I said, I was born in the desert. When you drive in the desert and you see a string of trees out in the distance, you know that there's water there because it's the only place that they would have enough water to grow. So when we were talking, about an hour ago, Lorena mentioned being in Africa and being in Angola, at the mouth of the Congo River, and I just started thinking of water. And American cities are always built, I guess cities everywhere in the world are built around water because before there was vehicles, cars and gas-powered vehicles, commerce began around ports, and so people, accumulated in those areas. And Houston is exactly one of those places. I mean, Houston brought the port into inland, 45 miles. Anyway, I just wanted to say, the river for me is something that has fed my imagination, my own identity. I think about, I use the river as a metaphor a lot with art. I think my art has changed me, and I've changed my art over the years. I think the water in a river, finds the lowest place. Topographically, the river is the lowest point on the map. That's how it carves away deeper and deeper. So the water is shaped, the shape of the river, comes from that slow erosion over time. So with all of that long rambling intro, I wanted to revisit you being in the Congo and being in Angola and thinking about the river with regards to your home and how that definition has changed. So maybe you could just tell us more about the time in Angola.
Well, I have the privilege to live in Angola for 8 months, just before the pandemic. The plan was to be longer, but the pandemic happened and we get back to Houston. There was a before and after in my work, and that is something that the reason I say it was a privilege to be there, because was of course a learning experience, learning a new culture, a new language, a new country. So there we were living in my husband and myself, just the two of us. There were many expats, like usually happen. We were just 3 couples living there. So of course, me thinking I'm an artist is okay, what I will do there? I have all my materials here and everything, is on hand here. So what I will do there? So I managed just to put on my suitcase some mylar papers and markers, just with the idea of doing something. I never been there before, so I didn't have a clue what I would find there. Of course, when I arrived there, we noticed that we are living, it was a surreal experience for me. Just every day asking myself, when, at that moment of my life, I will think, I will be living next to the Congo River and having the opportunity to see this fantastic river every day. So from there, I just decided, okay, I will live with this river. I will learn how this river works, how all the cities are a reflection of that river, because of course all the life happens around the river. So I started doing a series of drawings, just inspired on the movement of the current of the Congo River and the changing colors, because that is something else adding to it. Like the river could change from blue to green to pink to all depending of the time of the day. So that was something else adding to my inspiration to try also to get all these colors. Then I started, okay, now how I relate this to my home, like kind of like that. And then of course, then you start reflecting, okay, and this is something that just happened in life. I grew up on a city that everything happens around a lake, like it's the Maracaibo Lake, so there is the connection with water all the time. And then I moved to another area in Venezuela that is the peninsula of Paraguaná, that we have the Caribbean Sea there. And then I moved, I live also in Caracas, that then we have La Guaira, that we have also the Caribbean Sea. Then I moved to Houston and there is the Gulf. And then I moved to Angola and there is the river. So, and there is not only the river, there is also the Atlantic Ocean, because it's the mouth and we have both the Atlantic Ocean and the river. So just connecting my experience of home with the water, you know, it's like bringing all this line works like they are connecting on my homes, but my geographical homes. Like because I want to make a difference. Like from my point of view, home is more than a place. It's what we bring with us. What is our identity, our memories, our love.
I would say similar to the work at the Beeville Museum, the work in the show addresses in two different ways, and as we were saying before, the two walls kind of have a different approach to writing or you know, recording different ways of defining home. So these, I think, started from the topographies in Africa,
Yeah.
and the maps, or the lack of maps. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
That
Yes. It's like, of course, when I moved there, the first thing that came to my mind, of course, I have limitations with the materials I can use. So I start, like in my mind, I will say, I will look for kind of these vintage looking maps, like of the area, and then I will do drawings and start adding to that ones, and then I start looking for area maps everywhere. They don't have. Not, because one of the first places I went were to the schools. They don't have. The children, they don't have maps of where they live. Like, what's something of course disappointed, like from every point of view. Like, and then that is the reason then after I decided to create my own maps. So these are like metaphorical, psychological maps of that areas, and all reflected with the current of the Congo River, that now they became like topographical maps, because there are also, I want to talk also about those topographical maps of home related to emotions, that the ups and downs and all these, movement.
Yeah.
through the emotions?
I think the Portuguese, who were one of the colonizers of Angola, brought cartography. I mean, they really did a lot of mapping. I mean, it's part of the colonial history here in the U.S. and a way of showing ownership is through mapping and showing where your borders lie, which continues to this day. I think nothing clarifies your home by being away from it, especially like if you move in the same state. You don't think about your house when you're in it, and then when you're gone, even if you're nearby, you start to think about what made it important. But when you're much further away, then it becomes much clearer as to what you use to mark and demarcate, to map out your home. So, do you want to talk about the non-mapping, so the non-physical definitions of home with some of these pieces on this wall, which are more metaphorical?
Yeah, yes. Okay, I said like my vision of this exhibition was like to present a path that the viewer can follow, like looking where is home. So on this wall, my idea was to bring like this idea of finding home on a geographical place, like on a specific or a specific neighborhood or something that, okay, where is home? Maybe I can find it in one of these clusters or something. But then it's like as you walk through, that could be starting from there, from the where is home question and going back, or from here. And then here something happened that then you have this embroidery message in Spanish, and they are like answering to that question in English, the answer in Spanish of where is home. Like, okay, home is like, okay, it's not maybe just located on a physical place, is something else happening. No, it could be this place, in that place, could be anywhere, everywhere. And then we start walking toward the colorful wall. And then there you will encounter with the installation. That installation is made with African prints. So it's like bringing also an additional something from Africa to there, and then you will find the mirrors, so the viewer will get reflected there, and then you will find these statements like telling you are home, you are here, you are home, I am here, they are there, they are home. So it's like, it's not anymore like on a geographical place. It's like home is more, and the way I see it is that we are home because we build a home, our home from our memories. Home is identity. Home are our loved ones that we bring with us together. That is something that, we were like talking before, when you never move from your birthplace, it's something that you have for granted. Home is something that you don't never consider. You just consider home, start thinking about what happened with home, where is home, when you move from that original place. So, and then it's like, okay, start questioning, okay, where is home? And then for me, at the end, is home is within us. So all the word, the colorful words are talking about home within us. And they are the series that they are called shelters, that is like a way to travel within ourselves, looking for that safe space or safe place that we call home within us. And then the another ones are also related to the challenges that life could present, that could, move, or stability of home. But my idea with the colors is to tell that everything will be okay. And then it's like we have everything happening. Home is a place that we are always know, like a place to know. But then it's like looking through in a positive way that everything will be okay. So that is the reason all the colors are present there. And then of course we end with again the question, where is home? Because that is something this is the idea I proposed, and then everyone just decide if they agree or not what my idea, what I am proposing.
I think for me, having moved so much and finally, getting somewhere where I ended up staying and wanting to stay and work and make art, and, my books became like ballasts, weights that held me from flying away in the wind. And for me, that is like a definition of home. I think of food and smells also, like how going to my grandmother's house and just having food and Ben Gay and just all the smells that you smell. I was in Damascus in Syria before it got crazy about, I guess, 16 years ago, and it was the place where the most Iraqis had left when the Gulf Wars happened. And they left first and were taken in by Syrians seeking, they were seeking asylum. So there's a whole neighborhood of Iraqi, expatriates. And I went to this neighborhood I wanted to see, what it would look like, and it had been there for a while at that point. I was thinking maybe it was going to be tense, or I had no idea. And I went with a Syrian artist who was a translator and a doctor who knew the area and had worked there. And so we walked for forever. And when we got there, I didn't know that we were there. And the doctor was like, "Smell that?" And I was like, "It kind of smells like bread." And he's like, he knew that, I don't know, I can't remember the name. It was an Iraqi bread. Yeah, I was thinking like there was gonna be tents and there would be Iraqi flags and stuff. And it was the smell of this particular bread. And he's like, this is it, this is where, we are. And, they had made their home there. It was one of the nicer neighborhoods. My American bias was thinking it was gonna be tents and stuff like that. And it was these really nice homes, and there was bakeries there and stuff like that. I think about that. So I learned a new fact about Lorena when we were talking earlier, which completely makes sense, but I had no idea. She was a real estate agent at one point. So I think about how, how that maybe really affected the way you make the work and the subject matter. Do you think that has influenced the way you see homes now, in addition to the work? I mean, do you still draw on some of that knowledge from that era in your life?
Well, and I am connected with that,
Oh,
because I have family also working
Yeah,
on that in Venezuela, so the connection is easy.
Yeah.
And yes, because back in Venezuela, of course, I was working in the real estate area, and I grew up on an art environment because my mother was an artist, and she owned an art gallery for many years. So we grew up looking at art and everything, but none of the four siblings, no one. The one that was closer one was the youngest, that she studied fashion design. So, but of course, we grew up loving art, and we all have the ability to produce art. So when we moved here 20 years ago is when I had the opportunity to pursue my passion for art. And then, of course, what I will talk about home, because at that moment is when I realized, oops, what happened, like that, after you have like certain stability in a place that everybody knows you, like, and then you have, family, and then you come to another place, like starting from scratch, and then art, and learning a new language. Because by the way, I learned English studying art here. When I came, I studied art at Glasstire. So that also was like totally like reset my life. And then art has been my way to talk about my experiences as an immigrant, and talking about home, and always looking for ways to find where is home, like that. And something that we haven't talked like more recently, because that happened 20 years ago, that okay, you start questioning where is home, but then last year my mother passed, and just few months before my mother-in-law passed. So it's like I start questioning myself, where is home? Like, because the mothers are our first home. And then now I am losing both the representation of home, and then again this question, where is home? And then I did also the work, the installation I did that I have on the museum, honoring them. And then I have here the small one, the portal, that is also talking about this transition from the temporary home to the permanent home, because it's also questioning again, which one is the temporary home and which one is the permanent home.
I do think, in my own experience, my mother always made wherever we lived, feel important and special, no matter, what type of house or trailer or whatever it was. It was that touch that, that defines it, and that you carry it, on. I think it's an interesting time right now. Maybe this can be said at any time, but it seems like the home is threatened, financially. There's more displaced people than ever before. I just kind of, in our talk before everyone got here, I was reminded of a Dan Graham piece called Homes for America, which is, I think it was just a magazine ad in my card for him, and he recognized these new trend of like modular homes. He's kind of grafting this onto minimalism, which was the contemporary movement at the time. And it was kind of an early look at the importance of living situations. I think it is just to contextualize beyond the frame of these pieces, thinking of Houston, has more renters than owners of property, and I think that I hope that changes, but I kind of feel that that's not the trend, that it is a threat to families in a way, not having a safety net of the home. Yeah, I don't want to end up a sour note, so that's there's two things over here that I think is interesting, and I asked you about these before. In these three pieces, and maybe in that one, but definitely in these three really colorful ones, you have a combination of printed papers and then the papers that you patterned yourself. And I think it's similar, it is similar with the hanging mirrors. I think it's interesting that you're using in these series the combination of your own materials and materials from locations that you've lived in or called home, even temporarily. Because I think these pieces here and the pillow and a bunch of the pieces in the Beeville Museum show, there was some really fantastic works there. There's a big curtain that had, what was the phrase on the
Anywhere.
Anywhere, that's right. And it was kind of translucent, so you could see, it's so bright, you know, in South Texas, that you could see right through it. You could see the words floating over the, you know, exterior of the museum, which I love that piece. I think it's a really powerful, and, you know, it seems very simple, but it's, museum and a gallery are kind of closed spaces, you know, with special lighting and special walls. So to invite the viewer to look through the artwork and to look out, and the Beeville Museum is in a gigantic house, you know, it's a big old Victorian home. But these pieces and that curtain and several of the pieces in that show, additionally, the materials that you use in this and the mirrors, you know, they're using, the domesticity comes from the concept and the content, but it's also from the materials themselves. I don't know if I have a question in here, but I'm just kind of thinking about, I really appreciate that sort of, I don't know, overlap of using the materials that, that for many people, if they have no art background, they're going to think home just from those materials. Maybe you want to talk about some of these pieces, like you learned to embroider.
Yes. Yes. Well, last year, I also talk about. I had the opportunity to participate on a hybrid residency in Punta del Este in Uruguay. So, by that time during the residency, because it was 5 weeks online, and then will be 10 days on site with an exhibition there. So, I already have been of some of my works before. They have include some text, and then I keep with this idea of adding text. Like the answers to the question where is home. But at that moment, I have the necessity to start doing some embroidery, thinking on the practicity, to do the work here and then finish there, and then of course ship all the work there, and how I keep the idea of home. For that residency was also a great opportunity, like the Beeville Art Museum, that there are spaces that fit perfectly my concept, because the Beeville Museum was a home for 73 years before becoming a museum. So it's a perfect place to talk about home. And then this residency is happening on a Casa de Artista. So then when we start discussing between the another residencies and the director of the residencies, we start coming with this idea of make that house a home. So how I can have this space that this is a minimalist house that she has, to make it home. So for that, I start doing embroidery on the handkerchiefs, on the pillows, on the bathroom towel, on the kitchen towel. I did embroidery asking in Spanish, where is home, and in this place, in that place, in any place, everything in Spanish, and then we said everything across the house. With this idea to transform it in a home. But for that, because before that, I just have, my dream that I will do beautiful embroidery. But at that point, I just knew how to stitch, the pattern and the buttons, nothing else. So it was okay, I need to learn how to embroider before. So then I enrolled on a course at the Arley Houston, a workshop, just to learn how to do embroidery. So all these guys happened. And something funny that happened with the big installation on Beeville, that in Beeville, the installation is, I print this drawing on big fabrics, and I built like half of a house. And then I have a rocker chair with the pillow asking where is home, everything embroidered. So I embroidered in big here, there, and then on the roof I print a picture of the sky in Maracaibo, let's say everywhere, with the palms, the palm. And my idea, talking with the curator, was to do it like that, shows like kind of messy, that will show like the artist's hand. And then when people, then happen that I have everything then set, and then people start writing, they start like, are these machine done? I like, no, these are so that is the thing, like, I wanted to look like hand stitch, and they look like machine, like really like, the same happened with these guys. I did those like hand by hand, and then, yeah. So yes, was a really great picture.
They're perfect, yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the line, I think, plays a role in so much of your work. It's stuff at the Beeville Museum, and literally in the mark making, in the stitching, in the sort of metaphorical or poetic elements of travel, and certainly the topographical lines which demarcate peaks and valleys. Any questions? Any thoughts? I think we're
okay. In these three pieces, Lorena, you brought more black, and to me it's a big contrast if we compare with the rest of the exhibition. What was your process, mentally speaking, if something changed or it was just a natural evolution? Probably it was a natural evolution, but what was the process, mentally speaking?
Like thinking about uncertainty. Yes, because it's like I am presenting these metaphorical maps and inviting people to locate something, but it's something that is not set, kind of. So it's talking about that, because then you start there with the humming movement, like when everything starts. Like the first one on the top is like when everything starts, when you move your home, your place home, like I call, and then what will happen is like talking about this uncertainty, sorry, you know, uncertainty in Spanish. It's talking like that, and starting, and then of course inviting, okay, what is happening, and then inviting everyone, okay, going, like a walk through the color, but through the color that is the inner home, like from the collective point of view of home toward the more deep home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a comment, not so much of a question, because of course I'm super familiar with your work, but I like how you are going from the more like general, because to me, and maybe there are like more bird's eye view, like from up to the territory, right? And that's very far away, very removed, but then you are transitioning towards the more intimate, which is the embroidery, because it's very, very close, very associated with really inside home. You are also bringing textiles that have that, that element. So I think it's a very rounded work. The whole exhibition is very rounded. I think it's very clear what you. Thank you.
I was just struck by when I came in. I just met you the other night, and just like fell in love with her because she's so warm and open, but also the place of the Spanish language in your finding home and community. You move from Venezuela, speaking only Spanish, and you come to America, obviously found plenty of people that speak Spanish and how that relates to your sense of home and security.
Well, but I can tell, when we moved 20 years ago, I didn't find people with speak Spanish.
Really?
No, like I enrolled to I didn't enroll. My husband enrolled, registered me at the Glasstire School of Art because I didn't speak English.
Yeah.
So he helped me to register to the museum, and then of course taking more classes in English. At the beginning it was just like sign language to understand, and then the art history classes I took it twice because at the beginning, at the first one I lost, like I missed 80% of the class. People laugh and because I didn't know. And then okay, on I took it the second time because of course I need to write papers, and all these process like push me like I need to learn English. I need to figure out this. At the beginning was horrible because I get like these terrible headaches, try to assimilate, understand everything, and so for me it was a shock at the beginning. Then suddenly, like 3-4 years later, I discovered that was a teacher, Ariel Mason, that she speaks Spanish, and then I need to take classes with her because because I feel like, oh, somebody will understand me like that. But also was great because finally I was able to communicate in English. That is also a challenge when you move to another place that you don't speak the language, and then it's like that. It's like the stability of home was totally shaken, and then
When you found a lot of Spanish-speaking communities.
I know later they start coming, they start joining me.
You coagulate. To her comment about these pieces, I'm an artist and builder, and when we work in CAD, it's always on black background. So we actually design houses that are on that black background, so I don't see that. And I kind of also see with the black and the buildings tilted up, you're kind of seeing it, it's like it's at night when you see through the window and you get a glimpse in, and it's inviting, but you don't know what's inside there. But obviously it's a form of house that, that classic gable shape that just like immediately translates to home. So I don't have it in a dark way. I just see it like the way we design, and then also the light coming from within.
Comments, questions?
I actually, I love this piece in particular because it has the little opening, in the window, and here, and also the combination of the sewn line and the drawn line, and I had spent a year overseas, so I really felt displaced. I would have not known what that was like for that length of time, and also to leave home. And then you really do think about what is home, and you try to reconfigure it in another place, but it doesn't quite, there wasn't enough time to do that. And the situation was next to a war zone was really hard. But the sewing together and also using line in different ways, the texture and then the close and the far, and it's sort of like you're mending or you're piecing together, and this rhythm that goes through it, and then there's that little, peeking to the other side and saying here. So I think that's very poetic. And it doesn't really need color, in my view, because the rhythm and all of that is very important.
So you do have stitches there?
No, they look like.
Okay.
It's just the line.
Because I was telling her that that piece there, you look at it and it looks like it was stitched, she's
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it, and it doesn't have anything.
But it could have been stitched.
Yeah.
Yes.
And nobody would fault you for being machine stitched.
Now, when you say you did that, I was surprised because I was thinking, well, it could be machine,
Yeah.
They learn very well. And then I was looking at the relationship with what it looks like when you paint the circles there. I mean, it kind of looks like you're stitching
Yeah.
by drawing anyway, so it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Things are not what they seem.
Yes.
It's nice because a lot of what I know from her, it's tricky. I mean, it's about looking things in different ways. So since I met you at the Silver Street, where you have the tubes, color tubes, and
Yeah.
the other pieces.
And those are related to home in Houston, the chromolites. Each one has something, yes. You will find the relation to home. Because including the abstract works I had at the
Yeah.
River Museum,
Yeah.
then you start looking at the titles and then there again the reference to anywhere, everywhere,
Yeah.
kind of,
And there was, what did you call them, the plastic ones? You just said the name of the material.
The bars,
Yeah.
the colored bars are the
Yeah.
chromolites.
Chromolites, yeah, that's right.
And they are related to Houston, like my home in this present moment. Because then those two, when you see side by side, they are transparent. You can see only the color when you are in front.
Yeah.
So it's talking about home in time, like what is like is home in the present moment, and then past and future. The past become, you start forgetting, and then the future is something you don't know what happened. They are transparent.
Yeah.
So it's like each one. Yes, I try to connect each one of my homes, physical homes, but also to this home within, like that.
I mean, that's so interesting because I don't think that came up today, but even as we were talking before, like the word, it's kind of Borgesian, the word that is never mentioned in these is time. But that is exactly what is present in all of these pieces, where you're looking back to a home after you've left it and it's becoming defined. I hadn't thought of that.
And something that you remind me that you went to Syria, and then the smell of the bread, and then it's something like in Angola, of course, it's also tropical. So every time that you go to another place, you're trying to find the similarities to home and like to make your place home. And something that made me feel kind of home were mango trees everywhere. Because we have mango trees everywhere in Venezuela, and then I go to this country, and then mango trees everywhere. So I feel like, okay, I kind of something of my birthplace, like in this place, like something that fill my soul with this memory of home. Yeah.
I want to. As an immigrant, I feel very familiar with your work. For me, this exhibition is like a psychology therapy, because, okay, I came from Venezuela and I say, okay, where's my home? At home, I want to get back. I want to get back to Venezuela because there is my home. And with this, I can say, okay, my home is where I am. So here is home. This is that's for me.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank y'all. And please enjoy the rest of the day. You can view the work today. We'll also have it in the gallery for our next show. And please visit our gallery round neighbors.